that they could, for the first time in history, respond to a protest in a more organized manner, a petition in this manner. Because governance and leadership is responsiveness and responsibility. And then this shows that whether Gala review this press conference and this statement, accept it or not, we must acknowledge that this is what governance look like. When the citizens raise their concerns, the government have to respond, and then the dialogue will start from there. This is a good thing. Congratulations to His Excellency the President and the Cabinet Ministers for responding to the Gala petition. And on the content of the statement, I will not comment until Gala review and the statement very well gather evidence enough to face the media. Will call on a press conference. But what I will have to say is, I keep saying this at any gathering where I speak on behalf of Gala, that when Gala was born, Gambia will never be the same again. And from May 8th to now, anytime we speak, the government will respond and the government will act, at least, even though sometimes we feel like they are reactive than proactive, which will also work on. Gala is open to dialogue, but the dialogue have to be honest, transparent, and open. Once again,
so far, with what you've just heard from the cabinet ministers, are you satisfied before the event with their responses to some of the issues raised?
Personally, I am not satisfied. But collectively, as Gala, that will come out within a statement after we receive this. But I feel like sometimes they just speak because now they open up to dialogue. What we want, like I said, we want honest and transparent dialogue. There are things they say here that they know very well that they're just trying to play with people's mind. But let's say, for example, the Public Order Act. They ask about the repealing the Public Order Act. You don't tell us it's unconstitutional. We know it's constitutional, rather. We know it has been challenged to the ECOWAS cause and still vindicated. But we need to know that every bylaw is subjected somewhere. The United Nations Declaration of Human Rights have made it very clear that right to peaceful assembly and freedom of expression is an absolute right. So any other law that is tested in court doesn't absolutely deny the right that peaceful assembly should be accepted, and any law unfriendly to that act should be amended or abolished. Also, he made mention that the Public Order Act is colonial law. We have a lot of colonial law here. Even we have 1001 colonial law. The history of those colonial laws. This particular law is not just a colonial law. It's a colonial law of suppression. It's a colonial law of abuse. It's a colonial law of denial for people to exercise their fundamental human rights. In 2025, Gambia cannot be proud of that law, and Gambia should not keep that law.
Okay, you said Gala is open for dialogue, and the minister, suggested that before taking to the streets, you should engage in dialogue. So is Gala ready to engage them before taking to the street?
Well, that is not absolute. You see, when they were talking, they want to make it look like Gala should abandon protest to dialogue. Protest itself is dialogue. The way their offices are in the Marina Palace, the way their offices are all over, the Gala office is the streets. And we are not abandoning the streets. We will accept dialogue, but we are not abandoning the streets. And it's not the government to determine when we take the streets and when we accept dialogue. That is entirely for Gala to decide. And when there is a necessity to take the streets, we take the streets. And if there is a necessity to sit even at State House and dialogue with them, we will sit at State House and dialogue with them. But they don't determine when, how protest becomes a necessity in this country.
Moving forward, what do we expect from the Gala team, given the fact that government said they are open to, they're open to dialogue and also championing certain reforms that you are fighting or advocating for?
Absolutely. What is expected of Gala now is to ensure that we remain within the confinement of the law. We must listen to the government as well as they must listen to us. And if there is room for dialogue, we will dialogue. Gala is, like I said, and I will repeat, Gala doesn't hate President Barrow nor his government. What Gala hates is corruption, injustice, and impunity. And if those things happen, the government want to dialogue, we will dialogue. But if dialogue doesn't speak the language that Gambian people want to speak or listen to, we will resort to what actions to take to answer. Because at the end of the day, we dialogue, but dialogue doesn't just mean on the table. Dialogue is on the streets, dialogue is on TV. At the end of the day, hearing each other, conversing from distance is still dialogue, and Gala have every way to get to them. Protest, dialogue, any other way. What we cannot abandon is the streets and who determine when and how we take the streets. Thank you.